And away we go. It is another BCJ podcast right here on BearcatJournal.com. Brought to you, as always, by our friends at the Holy Grail. Make sure you're getting yourself down to the banks. Stop by the Grail. Support our good friends and longtime sponsors. And, make an event. Make a day of it. Have a good time, if you will. All right, David. It's an exciting one today.
Oh, man, was it ever?
I wanted to poke my eyeballs out. Yeah. AAC Media Days. I guess here's the good news, right? It's the final one.
Yeah, that's...
I don't have to do this Mickey Mouse crap anymore.
Yeah, it's something, all right. It's fun to joke about, and obviously it doesn't affect us at all. We're not going unless they had it in Cincinnati. But it's the whole mentality of like, you're not doing Zoom because of COVID.
No.
So like, what are you doing it for? When you see basically every other conference that I can think of did some form of in-person, event. And it's supposed to be the kickoff to the season and the kind of like, brag about yourself a little bit. Every commissioner's opening state of the conference, is always about how great we are at this and how great we are at that. And we won this many bowl games and our graduation rates are this. Like, it's talking season, but it's your one chance to like get on your high horse and say how good you are. And they just decided, you know what, we're just going to like have a Zoom call and
have the commissioner sit up there for 45 minutes, Dave.
I didn't watch a second of it. I'm glad I didn't
so
waste
bad.
my time.
He was talking about how terrible it would be if players unionized and how great the conference is going to be. Like, with a straight face after he read off the 6 names that were joining the conference. And then he tried to downplay, like, the success of Cincinnati and Houston and UCF, as if those aren't the 3 teams that have absolutely dominated this conference from the day it was,
Memphis had a nice little run. I mean...
Okay, but they had a very... like a 2 or 3 year window, and everything else has been Cincinnati, Houston, and UCF. Like, but it wasn't that. It was more like, Cincinnati was 4-8. Like,
yeah, I laughed at that when someone was asking about, how do you, what are your expectations, or what, I don't even know the exact question, but his response was basically going down the litany of every school like he normally does, which always cracks me up. He feels like he has to say something nice about every school, regardless of how long ago that nice thing actually happened. And he was like, we've seen how Cincinnati has risen or whatever, and just a few years ago, they were 4-8. And I'm like half a decade ago, they were 4-8.
6 years ago, right?
They've won 11 games or more outside of the COVID year where they would have won 11 games or more, like 5 years in a row. Like, I don't think we're really still needing to bring up the 4-8 season. It's clearly that's not who they are. He's talking about it's time to break away from the NCAA, and I'm like, okay, is your conference going to be involved in that breakaway? So, yeah, I'm glad I didn't watch We'll get into the preseason poll. I did not write down what our preseason poll was, so I need you to go back and we need to compare how close we got.
Crap.
What?
I think I might have thrown that away.
Oh my! The bit is ruined.
Nope, I got it. I think I got it. Yep, I got it.
So the media preseason poll is Houston won with one more total point than Cincinnati, but 3 less first place votes, which makes me question how I don't know how the point distribution goes, but
well, it just means there's a bunch of people that voted them third.
Right,
fourth.
but does it mean that someone voted them fourth?
Potentially. I mean, UCF got what, 7 first place votes?
7 first place votes.
You would have to assume that most of the people that voted UCF first probably voted Houston second.
I would guess. UCF third, SMU, Memphis, East Carolina, which brought on a nice little Twitter conversation today that we'll get into as a lifelong Pirate fan. Tulane, Tulsa, South Florida, Navy, and Temple, actually a lot behind Navy. So
a lot. Not a lot of faith in Temple these days.
No. So how did we do?
So we had Houston and UCF. We were both basically we were in line with this.
Right. I had
you and
UC
I went
first.
back and forth.
You had Houston first.
Yeah.
We both had UCF third.
SMU fourth.
We did?
Yeah.
All right. That was out of the hat.
We had Tulane fifth.
Okay, they're seventh.
Memphis sixth.
Okay, they're fifth.
USF 7.
All right, they're 9.
Tulsa 8. Nailed it.
They're 8.
ECU 9. That was the hat portion.
That was our yeah. So that was our only one that was off by more than 2 spots.
Yeah. And
we got a couple exactly right.
Yeah, we had Navy 10, Temple 11. They could have accomplished this by picking names out of a hat.
Yeah. Could have done a NBA draft lottery ping pong ball machine.
Right. Here's the thing. And Luke said he probably would have picked Houston first.
That Luke is very diplomatic.
But I think the reason he gave for it is the exact same reasoning I have. They have a really good veteran quarterback.
Oh, I'm not saying he's wrong. I'm just.
And remember, this was my comment when we talked about it. Dave, the Zoom AAC sucks. We're on to the Big 12. I wish we were playing in the Big 12 in 5 weeks, Richard. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
We have to put up with this for one more year, so we have to talk about it, unfortunately. I don't want to, by any stretch of the imagination. Trust me.
But thanks for the donation.
I'm just, I'm just letting Dave know. We don't want to do this. Or Richard, no. We don't want to do this either.
We do it for the love of the Bearcats.
Yeah.
And you all.
And you all. Even though you don't want to hear about it either. But back when I said that I would probably have Houston first in terms of a preseason poll, a lot of it was because of having a veteran quarterback. A lot of it was because they don't play Central Florida or Cincinnati.
Yeah, I mean, their schedule is definitely, just like it was last year, aligned to give them a pretty good chance of, and, would not surprise me one bit if they went undefeated because their non-conference is not. I mean, they lost their opening game last year to Texas Tech. Now they play Texas Tech at home, I think. But a new coach and all the guys, Clayton Tune coming back and everything that we've talked about. So it wouldn't stun me if they went 12-0.
Yeah, it wouldn't If you ask me right now, I think this is the thing. If you ask me right now who's going to be the 1 seed, I would pick Houston. Like, I just think that makes the most sense. Like, that there's a chance, because Cincinnati has a much tougher schedule, that they slip up somewhere along the way.
Well, much tougher is relative, and
it's relative, but
AAC parlance.
Yeah, but it's relative to the fact that Houston doesn't have to play.
Right. The only big difference is UC has to go to UCF.
Yeah, and SMU, which we'll see if they're any different under a new coach.
Stink. All these teams stink.
I agree, but there were a couple games against these teams that stink last year.
Well, I'm not saying they're going to like blow them all out. Just like I didn't say that last year.
Right, but you needed a veteran group to kind of pull through the fire on a couple of those games. We'll see if they're able to do that with a less experienced group this year. That's not to say that they won't. It's just we're going to have to find out in real time. But the thing I also said,
Alton McCaskill, and he's out for the year with a torn ACL.
Yeah, he got hurt in spring ball, right? Early in spring ball. The thing that I said that I think makes perfect sense, though, we're talking about right now. What's also very likely is by the time that we get to December, Cincinnati is better than Houston.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not interested in how good UC is necessarily in September when you're breaking in I'll just throw quotations around it, new quarterback.
Yeah,
you're really breaking in a new quarterback, and you got a lot to figure out in the defensive backfield. I feel pretty good about everything else, and it's not that I don't feel good about those spots. It's just unanswered questions.
Correct.
So yeah, I would, great.
When you're doing a preseason thing, like
right, the preseason thing is always going to be
are the unanswered questions.
The preseason thing for UC is that they lost a bunch of dudes.
Which is factual. They lost a bunch of dudes.
I mean, it kind of shows you how good they are, what people think of their depth and what they're able to do. And it shows you a little bit about the rest of the league as well. But, I mean, outside of your Ohio States, your Alabamas, Georgia, nobody's, very few of teams that are putting like that many guys out in one specific draft class are then also being picked to finish first in the league the very next year.
Right. That's an Alabama, Ohio State, Clemson thing, right? Yeah, you lost half of your starting unit collectively to the NFL, and we still think you're better than anybody else. Like that's generally reserved for rarefied air.
Yes.
But can I get to my one takeaway from today?
Is it the same one we talked about earlier?
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's hilarious.
The worst, the absolute worst thing in media. The people who get on a Zoom call, like that thing went today till like 4:00.
Oh yeah, like the last team was at like 4 or 4:30.
Yeah, and they sit there for 6-7 hours just so that they can ask every coach and every player for a comment on the team that they cover.
And I'm sure that this isn't like the only conference that it happens in.
Well,
but the other
when they're in person, like you've traveled there
to cover a specific team, and then when your team isn't there anymore, you're not just paying extra nights in the hotel room.
Right.
Like Tennessee was Thursday, last day at SEC Media Days. I'm pretty sure that maybe some did, but I'm sure that some showed up on Thursday. They didn't come on Monday to ask Mike Leach his thoughts on Josh Heupel and the Vols this year. But on the AAC call, you have multiple media people just, hey, Coach Fickle, just wanted to get your thoughts on what Dana Holgerson's been doing, what he's been able to do down in Houston. What is Luke going to say?
Right.
Like, I wanted him to say, well, yeah, it's been fine. We've kind of kicked the shit out of him every time we've played him. But, he's got things moving in the right direction. But no, he's going to be super polite.
They're no Cincinnati, but he's doing all right.
Did you watch the AAC championship game? Like, he's going to be super polite and say, I'd have voted them first too because they got a quarterback and Dana's really got it. As someone who would then consume that content, I don't care what, some other coach says because I know what he's going to say. What is he going to say?
Right.
I just, like you said, I can't imagine just sitting there through all those Zooms just to ask what, Coach X thinks about what this other team is doing.
Raise your hand in the Zoom call. Wait for your turn. Have to be attentive and pay attention to the whole thing.
Did you change your last name?
No, why?
Because Chad Brendel was asking questions today.
Whatever.
You should have just been like, yeah, this one's for you, Chuck. Like, how come you cut us out of the media poll? It actually is not for Coach Fickle.
Yeah, Chuck, we voted last year, but this year we didn't get the invite. Can you elaborate on what happened?
Is there anything
the names out of the hat thing?
Is there anything in the poll itself that you just personally, aside from our sophomoric ideas, is there anything that jumps out to you as, I don't know, something
Not
that
really? I mean, it's part of it, I guess, is that I don't care.
Well, that's enough. Yes, I agree.
So I don't know. It doesn't.
I do have a comparison I wanted to run by you.
Okay.
So today on the Twitter, our good friend Mo Egger and Megan
Coffee,
who used to be with UC,
yes,
had a little Twitter bet on who would finish higher, Memphis or ECU, and I jumped in and said I want some of that action on ECU. And so there was, some fun back and forth. And Justin Williams, also a good friend of the show, said that I just can't quit, as in me, like Dave just can't quit the AAC. And I sent him a gif of Tyrone Biggums. And it made me think, is Tyrone Biggums the AAC?
Like they show up at the CFP meetings and they're like
for the 5 o'clock, for the 5 o'clock free crack giveaway. Like I want to quit them, but my team is still there, so I can't fully quit. I'm trying to go to rehab, but it's just not working. And then I get a flyer. It's like, I'm here for the 5. Is this the 5 o'clock free crack giveaway?
Yeah.
Like the AAC is like
free crack Friday.
It's like bad. Like I won't throw a specific state out there, but just like bad state, redneck, white trash drugs.
Yeah, I mean, kind of. Well, and it's also because we can't quit it yet.
No. Like,
even if we wanted to go cold turkey right now, we can't.
But like, you know me, I'm like a full consumer of pretty much all football.
Yes.
I feel fairly confident that next year I will not consume any AAC football.
Yeah, I will have absolutely zero interest in the AAC.
Like, I already do not consume much of the whole novelty of like Maction.
Yeah, I don't.
I will watch like some Sunbelt stuff that they're getting very good, and they've got some interesting programs and whatnot. But like, without UCF and Houston, like, who cares?
Right.
Like, what are you watching?
Right.
There are no brands left that really moved the needle.
No, you're right.
But yes, I just kind of thought like the conference is Tyrone Biggums.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the only difference there would be, you giving up, like going cold turkey is not an option. Because I think if this were a drug and we get to the last basketball game of the AAC tournament.
Yeah, but like then I'm moving up to like the bougie drugs that you get in the big parties in Dallas, and I'm not showing up because someone handed me a flyer.
No. We're here because we have to be here.
Yeah. I gotta get my fix. It's not a good fix, but
it's bad for your health.
It really is.
This league.
It really is. It's very hard to be a fan of a middling SEC team. So I still watch like a lot of SEC football. And then I'm just like, oh yeah, let me flip over to the SMU Memphis game to see if that matters for UC.
And then you're like, can I change the channel? Do I have to watch this? And then instantly you're like, what other games are on right now?
I mean, and I don't believe this for 1 second, but it's like part of me is kind of like, if UC took like 1 or 2 losses early in conference play, like, and I didn't have to watch the rest of the other teams all season, that wouldn't be the worst thing that ever happened.
Right?
You're like not in the running to make the conference championship. You don't have to watch any of these other crap fests.
I think Luke would disagree with you there.
Well, he should. He's the coach. I'm just a fan.
Yeah, I mean, basically the only conference champions have been Houston.
No, Houston's never won it.
Didn't they win right at the beginning? Or no, they fell apart.
Well, I don't know. I mean, we tied them the 1 year with Tuberville.
Yeah.
Memphis won 1 year. Houston may have won it the 1 year when they had like William Jackson. And they went to the Peach Bowl, but they lost two conference games that year. So I don't even remember because that was the big thing when they upset Oklahoma. Temple beat Navy in a conference championship game. That shows you where the American Athletic Conference is. But I don't remember because I remember like the whole big thing while UC was making their run last year was the talk was how Houston had the chance when they had Ed Oliver and they beat Oklahoma the first game of the year, and then they beat Louisville, but then they lost to Navy when they were like 6 or 7-0, and I think they lost again in the regular season. So I'm not even sure if they made the conference title, but I do remember they beat Florida State in the Peach Bowl, so maybe they would have had to have won it to get the new. I don't know, but yeah, Memphis won it at least once when they played Penn State in the Cotton Bowl. Central Florida won it twice. UC's obviously won it twice. Temple won it once, and then I don't even remember back. Like I remember UC beat Houston in the last game at Paul Brown to like 3-way tie. One of Tuberville's the first 2 years. I don't know if it was the first or the second.
Right.
Yes, Richard. We had I could not be less or more apathetic towards something than I am.
Yeah, I just don't care.
And you know what's going to be even worse, Chad? Basketball season.
Oh.
Because it's just longer and there's more damn games.
Yeah.
But again, thank you for the donation.
Yes, thank you, sir.
Richard, you're awesome. Thank you.
Football season flies by because it's one game a week. It's Saturday. There's 50 other games on, and you can pick like basketball. It's like, okay, UC's playing Thursday night against Tulsa, and there's only 2 or 3 other games on, or it's going to be, oh my God, 18 games. Oh,
and with football.
I hope we're very exciting, even if we don't win. Just be very exciting.
with football, there's a rhythm to it. like there's a pulse to it, right? Like Saturday's the games, Tuesday is the media press conference, all that stuff. We get to go to practice. The BBP on Monday, the BCJ pod on Thursday. Like there's a flow to it all. Basketball, because of the nights, everything gets jumbled around and you got to rearrange this and move that and do this. And you got to stay up for those like 9 o'clock tip-offs at SMU and like, oh my gosh. My brain hasn't even gotten to that yet, Dave, that we're going to have to go through another basketball season in this league.
6 o'clock Sunday night games, 9 o'clock Thursday games.
Oh, 6 o'clock NFL, like, or 4 o'clock NFL Sunday games. Like, I want to gouge my eyes out.
I mean, that's the other thing I like with the Big 12 is you get into a cadence. Now, I don't know exactly theirs, but then and things might change depending on what the TV contract comes. But it's like they're on Big Monday, they play on Saturdays, and I don't know if it's Wednesdays or Thursdays, but it's like that's it. It's very simple. Oh yes, Matt mentions the annual 12 o'clock Sunday tip in Greenville.
Or like the 1 o'clock Super Bowl Sunday tip-off.
Mm-hmm. Because tons of people are amped up for that.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, yeah, I'm getting sad, man. We need to move on to another topic. Although we do have, it's a ways away, but we have already started putting our heads together on a possible, maybe a little bit of a celebration for everybody.
That weekend's going to be threading a tight needle because it's essentially 4th of July weekend.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, July 1st, 2023 is on a Saturday. The 4th will be on Tuesday.
So everybody's going to be partying that Saturday probably, really, right? Because Sunday you're going to have to get up and go to work. Monday night people will be partying, but you'll have work that day.
I don't know. Some places might give you work off on Monday.
Give you a 3-day week?
I got the 4th and 5th off this year.
Well, good for you.
I know. But yeah, I'm sure we can still drum up a nice little crowd.
Yeah, like I just mean like venue-wise and like
Sure.
How hard in the paint we can go.
Oh, I'm going to go hard to celebrate this sucker.
Yeah. It just, I don't know, Dave. Aresco was talking today and like my eyes just glossed over.
Well, it's because we've heard the same shit from him for a decade.
Yeah. Nothing really changed.
And nothing, and that necessarily is not his fault. Like, there's so much, Yeah,
I'm not blaming it on him. I'm just saying in general, like, nothing really changed.
Yeah. Oh, well.
I didn't. How interesting was AAC Media Day? I didn't see any comments on Twitter at all today, really, from any of the coaches outside of Luke Fickell.
I didn't see any comments from like any national media person.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, maybe like I think Chris Vanini tweeted about Aresco saying that they should break away from the NCAA. But that was I think that was like it.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I don't think he's a bad guy. Like, I don't hate Mike Aresco per se. I don't care anymore. Like, it's, I know somebody in this situation right now, right? So they recently had a kid. They broke up. But times is tough right now, Dave. So, like, getting a new place. Did I freeze or did you freeze? Oh, okay.
No, I got you.
Okay, I thought I froze for a second. Like getting a new place and moving out on your own is like a hell of a challenge right now. So they're just living together. in separate bedrooms.
For clarification, it's not me.
It's not you. No, it's not Aaron.
I don't think we would be airing that on this podcast if it was Aaron.
It's just somebody. I don't even really. It's not directly connected to me, but I just know of a situation like that where they're just living together. Like UC Houston and UCF are just living in the same house as the American Athletic Conference right now. They don't want to be there. They're building a new home. The new home isn't ready yet.
Yeah, like they were able to sell their house faster than they thought.
Right.
And they basically didn't want to get an apartment, so they're back living with their parents until the house is done.
Yeah. And they're just stuck. Just stuck. Do you want to call your parents the AAC? I'd rather call your parents like the ex that you don't want to be with.
No, that's fine. You call your parents the ex you don't want to be with? Or the AAC? I think you meant
the AAC. Right. You don't want to be with the AAC anymore. You're just stuck living in the house. Like, I don't know if you want to compare your parents to the AAC in that.
Certainly not mine.
Right. So, yeah, it's like the ex that you broke up with and you're waiting on your new place, but you're not able to move into your new place yet. So you just got to go through the motions for a couple months before you can get out. And Richard nailed it. It's total apathy. Total. I don't. Like, we're going to have to do these podcasts here in like 2 months. And I'm not going to care at all.
No.
Didn't SEC media members steal your draw out of a hat to pick preseason rankings? Vandy got a first place vote in the SEC East. Here's the thing, Jason.
I actually appreciate that because it's someone just totally making a mockery of a preseason media poll. Like, yeah, I'm going to vote for Vandy because guess what? None of this matters.
Right.
So I could vote for Georgia. Okay. Just, oh well.
But at least we honored the sanctity of it by saying these are the 3 teams at the top. These are the 2 teams at the bottom. I have no clue on these teams in the middle. So we're just going to draw them out of a hat.
Because they're all the same, man. I mean, we still get Tulane and Tulsa mixed up. When did they join this league? Like 2013?
Yeah. We're 9 years in and still don't know them apart. If we get dumped by the hot conference, will the ugly conference always take us back? The AAC would trip over themselves to take back Cincinnati, Houston, and UCF.
They'd probably kick out Temple.
Yeah. They'd be like, yeah, come on back. You guys you're looking super hot. Have you been working out?
Yeah.
Are you on a diet? Man, you look good. Feeling the biceps, like, gosh.
Yeah.
Please bring your money back to our conference.
Yeah.
Please, pretty please. Yes, they would always take Cincinnati back.
I'd rather be independent. See what happens.
We've done that before, right? It didn't go so well.
I think it's one of the 19,000 different conglomerations and conferences, and that's the thing I laugh about with conference realignment. You got all these fans that are losing their minds because they're just used to the same thing for 100 years. And I'm like, UC's been in like 7 conferences since I've been alive.
That's it. Feels like more.
I think that's it.
I know I'm being sarcastic.
Metro, Great Midwest, Conference USA, Big East, American, and now Big 12. So is that 6?
Were they independent at all in your life?
No, I think they were
that
independent.
might be in my life.
I think they were independent. I think they were in the Metro when I was born.
Yeah, that might be in my life. I guess the question, though, is does it, and I know Aaron timestamped us, and we're just continuing kind of on with this line of conversation a little bit. Does it take away from your anticipation of this season a little, knowing that we have to go through it in this league one more time?
I'm not sure if it takes away my anticipation. I think the thing that I've noticed is and maybe it's prisoner of the moment, and maybe things have been this way the last couple of years, but I feel like we're like a month away from the season, and nobody's actually talked about any football yet. And that's not just like a UC thing. Like, so I feel like there's a lot of information out there, a lot of people out there that don't really like. It might be a great way to like jump on some early wagers, because they're just everything has been about off the field kind of stuff. It doesn't like I'm not any less excited for the season because we're leaving the conference and like going through the season is kind of a drain in that respect, because I think we're still going to be pretty darn good, and I think they can still win the league. But and we might have even talked about this before, if they were like doing a full-on rebuild, that would be a different story.
Yeah.
That would be a tough slog.
Yeah, to sit through.
We're like, yeah, the games matter, but we're not expecting to be real good. So it's like, okay, great, we're going to a bowl game.
Right.
And then we're still like trading wins and losses week to week and stuff like that. Like that would be a rough go.
That would not be fun.
But I think like once we get to week 0 and like games start and we're like in game week, I think everybody's going to be right back at it, like full throttle, ready to go.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Great. Thanks. My daughter's distraught.
What happened?
She went to the Reds game today with my dad and has a t-shirt tan.
Oh no.
And it's messed up the tan that, the perfect golden brown that she has worked on all summer. She's got tan lines right here and right here, and she just walked in and she was despondent.
It's like can't even form a sentence. Just pointing, like
this.
So she was.
I think you'll survive.
She was one of the 27 people there.
My dad got free tickets, so
I think everybody there got free tickets.
Right. I guess one of his friends' companies, has like season tickets, like right next to the diamond seats.
Can't give them away.
Right. So they ended up with my dad, who has no connection. It actually wasn't his friend. It was his friend's daughter's company. So she gave the tickets to her mom. Her mom gave the tickets to my dad. And, it was such a good time. My stepmom left in the top of the second inning and went to like the air-conditioned like restaurant that's there.
Yeah, I would too.
And sat there on site until everybody was ready to leave.
Yeah. We're going to the Bengals practice on Saturday, and the Reds play later that night. I'm sure there's going to be more people at the Bengals practice than the Reds game.
Did you see the pictures from the Redskins practice the other day?
I did not.
There was like 7 people there.
Well,
That was embarrassing.
Yeah.
Embarrassing.
The Redskins aren't, or the Washington, what are they called now? The Commanders?
Yeah, the Commanders. I'm sorry. That was politically incorrect of me to call.
Why didn't you just keep the Washington football team? Like that's not bad at all.
Awesome.
And now their uniforms stink too.
Yeah. Your wife does not love your farmer's tan, Matt. She just tells you that. But yeah, she's been working on a.
Sexy.
She's been working on Aaron's girlfriend does not love his farmer's tan either. But that's why he wears shirts cut to the nipples. And I have to tell him, Aaron, you can't have your nipples on YouTube.
Is that against the rules?
No, it's against BCJ policy.
BCJ policy?
We have an anti-nipple policy.
Our protocols and procedures book is pretty thick.
No nipples. All right, let's get to camp. Starts next week. I don't know if I'm allowed to say this yet. I guess I'm gonna.
You probably shouldn't.
I mean, I think they'll survive at this point. the tentative plan. How about if I say it like this? The tentative plan.
You just get our access taken away.
No, the tentative plan will be Wednesday on campus. They report Tuesday, practice Wednesday, go to higher ground Thursday, practice Friday. So we'll be at practice Wednesday and Friday next week. So look for that, as we'll have our usual camp reports every day and nightcaps every night and a couple podcasts a week. So you will be getting all the camp information you could ever wish and dream for coming from Bearcat Journal here over the next, I think it's almost 3 weeks, like 2.5, a little over 2.5 weeks of camp. So you'll hear my thoughts on all of this stuff throughout, but today is the day we have Dave. So I'm interested in hearing some of the things that Dave is, I don't know if like looking for or you know, what's your pre-camp like checklist is of things that are interesting to Dave Simone. How about that?
Oh, let's see. What is interesting to Dave Simone? I'm not even going to say the quarterback situation because, like, no,
of course,
no kidding. I am interested in, you know, whether you talk to him, whether we get to talk to him on the side, whether somebody else. Like, I'm interested to see Gino's. I mean, and yes, we all know Gino called plays last year, but like it wasn't technically his offense. This is like Gino's offense,
right?
So I'm interested to see like what does that mean? What is, you know, how does he go about incorporating both tight ends maybe differently than they were used last year? I know we've talked a lot about it, and I think even he maybe has mentioned the screen game being a bigger factor. Like, just, you know, asking him what's different, what's staying the same, what are your points of emphasis in spring practice outside of, you know, figuring out who the hell is going to be your quarterback, stuff like that. I'm interested in seeing, does someone step up in a true rush end capacity? I think they have a solid defensive line even with the losses. I think they have a fairly deep defensive line even with the losses. But is this going to be more of like a bunch of dudes get three or four sacks, or is there somebody that can step up, demand a double team, be more of a speed presence than having, like, you know, your Juwan Briggs, Jabari Taylor, Malik Vann, who are, I would say, solid rushers, but they're all in that more of like stout, physical body bag you type.
I think Jabari's going to surprise people.
And he very well might. Kind of like, I mean, very similar to maybe like how Elijah Ponder did.
I think that's a great comparison.
But like, does someone just come out where they can split them out wide and just like say like just rush, just pin your ears back, see if you can cause some disruption. We'll clean it up on the other side. I am actually interested in the linebacking group in the sense of I think it's actually really deep, and I want to see how guys get snaps. Does Jaheim Thomas, does circumstance turn him into that person that I just mentioned? I think
we saw it in the spring. I think that on passing downs.
Not all the time, but on occasion. Because, like, you know, and I think Justin was on with Mo today while I was picking up Will, and he kind of mentioned, like, 5 of the 11 best defensive players might be linebackers. Or at least 5 of the 11 that they think are the best and can also probably count on the most.
Yeah, I mean, when you're talking about Pace, Van Fossen, Huber, and then Jaheim, and Pace.
And Pace. Like, how do you get those guys on the field if you're going to keep running a 3-3-5?
And the most physically imposing might not be in that group in Jack Dingle.
Some would say an Adonis.
Some would say is an Adonis.
But, yeah, so I'm interested to see, like, who plays what in certain situations. Are they Are they moving guys around? Are they, how does that all work out? Because you're going to have to try to figure out a way to get all those guys on the field, I would think.
Yeah, the easiest
not
way
obviously together, but
right.
But how does that work? And then obviously the secondary, just seeing who looks comfortable, who's not blowing coverages to a veteran wide receiver group, who looks like they can be counted on. Who does someone step up, or do multiple guys step up to where, does Arquan go back into the slot? Does he stay outside? Does someone step up in the slot that allows him to stay outside?
I'm excited to see Sammy in the slot.
Yeah,
I think that has a chance to be really good.
And he's the guy that I've kind of been, we've kind of picked DBs over the last couple of years of and he's kind of been my guy that I'm waiting on. So those are kind of the high mark ones. How much zone does the defense show in?
I think that's
in camp.
massive.
And can those guys play it? It's two totally different mindsets. There's a lot more trust involved. You've gotten these big physical corners, and then now you're going to ask them to play off coverage and pass guys off, and trust that a receiver going all the way across the field is going to get picked up, and someone's eyes aren't going to be diverted to a tight end going across the field when it should be waiting for this other receiver coming the opposite direction behind him. Stuff like that. How much
the zone question, it's one of the things that Aaron and I are going to, do a little nightcap on before camp starts, because I think that is the fascinating part of the corner question, because Kobe played a lot of zone principles. He was still kind of in man, but he played off, gave a little bit more space on the backside. You have to play
off because you've got no help. You can't just get beat on a quick hitch and come up and miss a tackle.
Right.
Playing that side of the field. You can't play true bump all over the field all the time. He's got to play off a bit at the field.
But the boundary, we're not going to see. They don't have anybody at this point, and maybe somebody will emerge over time. But you're not going to be able to just press man their number one receiver, have very little help over the top from the boundary safety, and just think this is going to work the way it did last year.
No, dudes will be running free all over the place.
And if you remember when Tressel first started running the defense, there was a little bit more zone than I think that they wanted to play. And then as he dialed in over the course of the season, it got back to a lot of the Freeman stuff. But if you look back into Tressel's background, it's, there was a lot of zone blitz, zone pressure type stuff that, maybe now we see him be able to get into that bag a little bit more, because the defense is going to be quite a bit different than last year's group that had essentially played 3 years together.
Right.
Outside of a couple different spots that had guys leave, that was a group that played a shit ton of football together. So the zone question, I think, is really interesting. Matt's stop and run is my biggest question. Well, this is a defensive line that I think is much more designed to stop the run than a year ago. I think you would agree Brooks was outstanding. He was awesome. But he was a 3-tech, rush guy, get up the field guy. He wasn't a run stopper.
3-tech playing 0 because they run 3 through 5.
Right. So now you're getting to a 0 in Briggs.
He used his quickness more than he used his power too. But his first step was what won him matchups. And your linebacking core, even like, I think you're more athletic.
Now?
Yeah.
I mean, Jaheim's more athletic than DeBlanco, but Beavers was a hell of an athlete.
No, but that's why I just said that. Because if you're talking about stopping the run, you're typically talking about the middle.
Yeah. DeBlanco was pretty good at the run, like stopping the run, though.
He was. I think Huber, though, too, is pretty athletic, too.
Yeah.
So
I'd say it's about a wash, personally.
I imagine they'll probably be like very similar against the run. The question's going to come down to the pass defense. Like, they were giving up. Like, they had the number 1 or number 2 pass efficiency defense 2 years in a row in the entire country.
Yeah.
Like, they were giving up like less than 200 yards passing a game.
In today's college football, that is insanity. Insanity. In a league that more often than not likes to chuck the ball around.
Yeah.
UCF, SMU, ECU, Houston. Yeah. Like, those teams like to throw it around. And guess what? They played the Bearcats. That wasn't really an option.
But yeah, I mean, their toughest tests last year were when teams, and it's few and far between, but like Tulsa was one, obviously Alabama. Big physical offensive line that just want to run straight ahead.
Well, and had no problem saying, you know what, we're not going to throw. Like, we're just not going to do it. Like, we know we're not going to be able to succeed at it. We'll do it if we have to, but by and large, we're going to run 65%.
The pass is too ingrained in most of these teams' offenses for them to just go, we're just going to run it 75% of the time and see what happens.
Right. Like,
they can't help themselves to throw. And they don't have the offensive lines that like Tulsa and Alabama had that were, Tulsa's got a guy drafted in the first round, had another guy drafted. Like, they had big dudes that just wanted to come straight ahead.
Correct.
So,
if you guys, and this is, I think this is probably going to be outside of the mailbag, but in like a live format. If you guys want to fire like your camp questions into the chat, and you want to donate, that would be great. But if not, just fire your camp questions in the chat, and Dave and I will get to as many of them as we can, because this is probably the best opportunity to do so. I would think on these different formats as we get rolling. But yeah, like the pass is definitely, like, I've said it, you've said it. People are going to lose their damn minds when this team gives up inevitably 300 passing yards in a game this year.
Like, I want to go back.
Tressel, and they're going to blame.
I want to go back and look and see what the longest. I mean, I don't even know how I would find this out. I know some advanced metrics would have it, but I don't think we have access to it. Like, what's the longest air yards pass they've given up in the last 2 years? Like, not some pop pass or 5-yard pass where the guy ran a long ways.
Like, right, like the Memphis game where they hit the guy in the flat.
Or like Ryan O'Keefe in the UCF that, play or whatever. They had a long run last year. Like, Sauce tracked him down. Or Tank Dell took that short pass in the AAC championship game and like cut it back across the whole. Like, what's the longest air yards pass they've given up? Like, is it the touchdown in the Cotton Bowl? That was like 30 or 40 yards in the air, like 30 yards in the air.
I mean, I think, didn't Kobe have one or two at some point where somebody got him just on a jump ball?
I mean, maybe, but that's what I'm saying. Like, it happens
so few and far between
that we literally can't remember. There's never been like a traditional like Dez to Tyler Scott on the first play of the game, or last year, or Dez to Jaden Thompson in the either the second or the fourth quarter last year. Just rear back and chuck it like 50, 55 yards.
Right. Pierce, was it against Memphis, where he just went down and jumped over the guy the early in the game?
Yeah.
Is that Memphis? Land Big and Crypt Keeper, it's good to see you guys, but you're late. Take a lap.
Or donate $5.
Yeah, donate $5 for being late. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, there are going to be teams that have success in the air.
Well, they're just gonna take those chances now.
Yeah.
Where before they're like, we're not even gonna take the chances. Because 2 of the 3 things that can happen are bad.
Oh, do I have good news for you, Lamb Big? Good news for you. My PS5 is in the mail. It's on its way. And you can stream on Twitch directly from the PS5. So I think I'm going to get Madden. And we'll be streaming some Madden here pretty soon. Within a week or two. Well, I mean, camp's going to be a pain in the ass.
Yeah, you're going to have tons of time to sit around and play video games.
Yeah. But I'm sure, like, you know, a night or two here or there, I'll play a couple games and get it fired up. But this is all in preparation, Dave. We talked about it last night on the nightcap. I got an email from PlayStation because Kelsey plays on my account constantly. They're like, you know, we value your dedication to still playing your shitty PlayStation 4. So you have a window tomorrow from like 2 to 7 to buy a PS5. And I've had the money put aside forever to buy one. I just haven't, like, I'm not going out of my way to track one down. So when they said all I had to do was like click a link and then buy it and they would send it to my house, I was like, this is perfect. This is exactly what I've been waiting for when it comes to a PS5. So I've got one on the way.
Happy gaming.
Yeah, well, my PS4 got commandeered. It's in Kelsey's room, so she can play Fortnite.
Guess what'll happen when the PS5 shows up?
No,
You say that.
All she only plays Fortnite. Like, and it's not any different, that game, from the PS4 to the PS5. So
okay.
No, I'm going to be streaming. It's for work, right? Like, that's building the Twitch channel to get monetized on Twitch is also a business proposition. That is another entity that could possibly be paying for all of this, you know, outstanding coverage. Did the state of South Carolina treat me well? Yeah, it did. Found an awesome cheesesteak place it's in Georgia, but that was great. And like the fat kid I am, I ate there 3 times in 2 days. Dave and I have had this conversation. Aaron just doesn't understand. Peter Pan gets a PS5. Smack the shit. So Aaron has learned how to timestamp on YouTube. So he's testing himself.
We're moving on up.
Yeah, we're moving on up.
Like a fully functioning multimedia conglomerate now.
Right.
Maybe we should put a bid in for the Big 12 media rights.
I think we could do UC Tier 3 game. Like, we could have Tier 3 coverage here.
Yeah.
I think that would work. I think it would work great. I got some stories today that I want to get to, but I can't talk about them.
Well, no kidding.
I know, but I want to because they're funny. Like, they're funny stories.
All right. So what's next on your hit list here?
I don't have much, man. I mean, I was hoping we would get some like what questions you guys have about camp and things that you're looking to hear from me or hear from Aaron or hear from Dave when he's able to make it out. I was hoping to get like a little segment out of that, but no, I think we've zeroed in on a potential co-host for Dave. You know, it's a name you guys kind of know from the BCJ family, but I think it'll be really good. So I think we're pretty good on that.
Yes, excited about the direction that this is going. Threw that out on the Twitter a week or so ago and did not expect the overwhelming interest. So I think we're gonna make something happen and hopefully be a place for everybody to come listen and discuss the games. Not obviously not immediately after, but But
the next day when you've slept it off a little bit, feeling a little bit better, and we'll still have in those special situations.
Yeah, I mean we had people asking, like, can you figure out a way to do it after the game and this is just being absolutely selfish. Like, after I'm gone all day and Chad's gone all day, like, by the time we finish, Chad finishes his duties covering the team, and by the time I get out of the stadium and get all the way home, like, we're just not in a great spot to just want to sit down and pump out another 2 hours worth of content.
I mean,
Chad likely because he's tired, me likely because I've had a couple sodas, and my wife probably wants me to spend some time with our son.
Yeah. I mean, I don't mind it. What I think makes it difficult is, like, if we're gonna sell it and we're gonna promote it, we need to be able to guarantee that it's gonna happen. And the best way to do that is Sunday morning.
Yes.
Because we don't set kickoff times. Like, we don't have control over, like, if we knew every game was going to start by 3:30, then maybe Saturday night would be something like, a 9 or 10 o'clock Saturday night show to wrap everything up. But games starting at 7 o'clock, man, I'm not home until midnight.
And I'm like, I'm still watching other games. Like, I want this to be, like, yes, a heavy UC thing, but like a college football show too. Yeah. You do it at 10 o'clock, like the 8 o'clock big like Saturday night.
Get live reactions from it.
Yeah, but it's still, like, I'm watching.
Right.
It's not fair to the show, to the listeners. Cornerback rotation. How soon will JQ be in the rotation? He's already in the rotation.
Yeah, I'm interested in the cornerback rotation as well, because I know what, like, sometimes I love Justin, but sometimes I see what Justin writes and it just doesn't match. And a lot of this, like, Justin's reporting and gathering information. I'm still we talk about being a Marvin Lewis disciple in one specific way. I see better than I hear. And I saw Arquan Bush taking a hell of a lot of reps at boundary corner in the spring. So if your intention isn't to play him at boundary corner, why was he taking so many reps there? Like, are we sure? Are we sure he's going to be the field guy? And he might be. Yeah. But I saw a lot of him lining up at the boundary. I think you're better there. Like, I think Todd Bumpus is a better, field option than maybe Jaquan Shepard is your starting boundary corner. And it sounds like Jaquan has had a really good summer. So maybe that changes the equation some from when the spring ended until when camp starts. But I'm very interested in that corner rotation as well, because, I mean, Taj Ward has got a ton of experience doing a bunch of different things that they've needed him to do as kind of a Swiss Army knife guy. But, like, if you're really turning the page on some of these spots to what's next, That would be Sammy Anderson at the nickel. And if you got Sammy at the nickel and maybe Bumpus at the field and Arquan at the boundary, now the rotations are a little bit different in terms of who might slot in where. I think it's easy to forget that initially Sauce started as a field corner. But if you remember back to that 19 season, Kobe struggled some at field or at boundary when they played, when they moved Kobe to boundary. And then they moved him back to field when Ahmad came on. Then Ahmad moved over to boundary, and, kind of the rest is history. Kobe was in his comfort zone and took off. So, yeah, I'm really interested in the corner rotation. JQ is already in that rotation. To what extent, like where does he fall exactly in terms of getting reps? We'll get a better feel for that with how he holds up out at higher ground over the next month. Hi, JQ. So, yeah, corner's fascinating. It really is fascinating because there's never been a position that was as loaded as that was at Cincinnati for the past 2 years. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, for sure.
So, and guess what? They go out and give up a 300-yard game to somebody. The next game, you might see something a little different than what you saw the game before also, right?
You might see something different in the second half, depending on how it's going in the first half.
Yeah, I mean, and they have that ability, and there's so much that needs to be learned in that room.
Well, they have bodies.
Yeah.
So if things aren't going great, it's not like what people are like, this happens a lot in basketball. It's like there's nobody else to put in, guys. Like, why is this guy getting so many minutes? Because there's nobody else to put in.
Well, I just go back to and this isn't a shot at either of those guys that I'm about to mention. I go back to before all this started, when the corner duo was Lyndon Stevens and
Grant Coleman.
And those two guys were okay. Like, Lyndon Stevens spent a little time in the NFL. It wasn't like they were bad. But there was absolutely nothing behind them. So if things weren't going well that day for either one of those guys, there wasn't like, okay, well, this is how we fix it, or let's at least find out if there's something else we can do. Like, that was as thin as the position I think has ever been in my recollection over the last 16 years, where those two guys were serviceable to solid, but then it dropped off to like walk-on level after that. And that's not the case now. Now there's a bunch of talent in that room, including a couple other freshmen besides JQ.
Mm-hmm.
Ken Willis, Kellen Carroll. Like, there's a lot of talent that they've got to sort through.
Best cornerback back in that day was serving a stretch.
There was a NFL caliber cornerback that should have been on those teams. Let's just leave it at that. He would have fit in real well. No, he wouldn't have fit in real well.
No, not at all. Not with this group. Maybe with the last group.
Talent-wise, he would have fit in real well with those guys that just left. But yeah. Could you imagine him in the nickel with Sauce and Kobe?
He was playing somewhere last year.
Yeah, he was supposed to be at Pro Day.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that was like the rumblings that he was going to be at Pro Day to get in front of the NFL guys. What is he playing in Canada or?
No, he was in college last year.
Oh wow! I guess he still had eligibility when he got out of the clink
at Ferris State.
Oh wow! Huh.
Maybe not last year, but that's where he was the last time I saw anything.
Wow.
He was there in, I think, in at least 2020. So maybe not. Yeah.
Yeah, AT was really, really talented.
That was my dude.
I mean, I guess that's all you guys have for questions.
So I have a quick topic.
Okay.
What are your thoughts on the I guess I would say louder than whispers starting about a 16-team playoff?
Of course. The Big Ten and the SEC are looking at everybody that turned away all these auto bids and 12 and whatever, and they're saying, all right, look, we're at 16 each. We're going to need to get as many teams into this thing as possible every year. So, yeah, we're going to need 16.
Kevin Warren's had quite a turn of his opinion from 6 months ago.
Right.
And like, I had a little bit of a post the other day on one of the threads, and I'm all for it. You know what? I'm not worried about this. You know, and I put, we live on a different block now. My old problems are not my new problems.
We're still waiting on the house to finish being built, but we're moving to a new block.
It's a new block. It's on a golf course. It's got a nice pool. You know, yeah. It's a new block.
And it's in Texas, so you know you can get a pretty nice place for a decent price.
Right. So like, I think we're going to be damn good. So for a while. So yeah, have 16 teams. I don't care.
Right.
Like, have 16 at-large bids. Ain't scared. Like, you know, I look at it as UC has been, use whatever analogy you want, punching above their weight, fighting with one arm tied behind their back. Like, I'm looking at it as what situation, whether it's the Big 12 TV contract or the new playoff format, gives them the most amount of money. I'm for that.
Yep.
Because they're already, as we saw last year, and we don't know if it's going to be a annual thing, a semi-annual thing, a once-in-a-generation thing, but they're already, as currently constructed, at a level where they are better than and competing with 75, 80, 90% of the sport.
Yep.
And that's with a seventh of the money.
Yep.
So if a 16-team playoff gets an insane amount of money,
$1 billion a year,
and the first two rounds, I won't say will be, but you know, maybe, probably will be on campus. If we
at least minimum the first round.
Oh yeah. I mean, you know, there's so many things that just make so much damn sense that I'm just like, why is this stuff so hard? Like the two bowl games that have truly have contractual tie-ins are the Rose Bowl and the Sugar Bowl.
Yeah.
Why don't you just have a 16-team playoff where the Rose Bowl and the Sugar Bowl are the semifinals every year?
Right.
And then you move the national championship around. It can be in Indy, could be in Miami, could be in Tampa, you know, whatever. Could be in Atlanta, Phoenix, whatever. But you have 2 rounds of on-campus games.
Right.
That lead up to the semifinals in those 2 games. And you could have them on January 1st to appease the Rose Bowl. You know, and it just makes too much sense. But and I'm not concerned anymore about the quote unquote little guy. Like, I don't care. Guess what I don't want? I don't want auto bids and some 10-2 American Athletic Conference team that finished 23rd in the poll automatically being in the playoff. Things change. I don't want that anymore.
I'm with you.
That's not a true playoff. And Aresco's out there today talking about every other sport, the winner of the division or the winner of the conference gets into the playoffs. I don't care. Every other sport is, in basketball, there's no, yes, the winner of the conference gets into the sport, but it's not, you're not looking at those teams as being capable of winning the national championship.
Butler almost did. George Washington almost did.
Yeah, but George Mason.
George Mason, yeah.
Butler was not a low seed, though. I'm talking about they were a good team from one of those conferences. If those teams,
St. Peter's made a run.
They won 2 games.
They beat Kentucky.
That they did. But you know what I'm saying? I just want the best teams because I think we're going to be one of them. So if it's auto bids or not, or 16 at larges, I don't really care.
Yeah.
I just want a system that, and 12 would be fine or whatever, but I think 12 even would be.
Well, 12 is just the same number of rounds, but with first round buys.
But okay, that's my thing. With what Kevin Warren did, you didn't want 12, so you're not going to want 12 again, right? So this thing's either going to be the same, 8 or 16,
right?
Because now he's not as hung up on automatic bids, which always cracked me up.
Well, at the time, he still had to pretend he was in an alliance.
Well, no, but that cracked me up because, when is the best team from the Big Ten wouldn't automatically qualify? Wouldn't be there if they had at-large bids.
When has the winner of the Big Ten been 13th in the country?
Right.
They're usually stacking 4-loss teams into the top 12.
Well, just look at last year. Oklahoma would have been in a 16-team playoff at 9-3. And a 9-3 that everybody was like, these guys are not very good. So on one hand, does it maybe dilute the regular season a little bit when you can say a 9-3 Big Ten team?
I hate that.
I do too. I do too, because I'm going to take
I hate it.
I'm going to take the other side because I'm going to say no, it doesn't, because it means that in November, 30 to 35 teams still have a shot to make the playoff.
Right.
And outside of maybe the 1-16 game, you probably are getting pretty competitive games all the way through. Or at least fun games. Everybody's worried about these blowouts. You're not going to get – sure, you're going to get blowouts, but you get blowouts every week. But, would you rather play – if you're Alabama last year and you're the 1 seed, would you rather play, 9-3 Oklahoma, who at least has the talent? They just weren't playing good for it, or the auto bid team from the MAC or something.
Yeah, right.
So and we still have 4 years. This, even if they vote on, even if they come to a consensus on this, it's not starting this. This isn't to replace the existing playoff. This is to start anew.
Right.
After the 25-26 season.
Yeah. Now they're going to have to bid out the TV contract and
Yeah, which will be, just unbelievable.
You get 15 additional college football games, essentially, or 12 additional college football games with everything on the line. Woo! Yeah. And what does Alabama look like in an extended playoff last year without Michi and
Jameson Williams.
Like, they're vulnerable to a lot of people at that point. Like, maybe they get smacked in the second round by some, what, 4 or 5?
Well, it would be like an 8-9 in this
8-9, yeah,
in a 16 team thing.
Maybe you get an 8-9 game, an 8-9 team, and
but
we've
still,
seen this a million times before. Like, their quarterback got hurt the first couple weeks, so they lost a game or two.
You're talking about
back.
I think they would have been a little bit higher, but like you're talking about like a hot Clemson team, or whoever doesn't win the Big Ten East or whatever. They're not going to have divisions anymore.
Like a Penn State.
But like the best Big Ten team that doesn't make the conference championship is going to be in that.
Probably be higher than 8-9.
Yeah, but they'd be in that range.
And 6, 7, 8.
Like
the
SEC West team that doesn't make the SEC championship.
Oh, shit, sometimes they're third.
True. Texas A&M was what, 5th?
Yeah. But no, give me 16. Sure. Give me 32. I don't care.
Yeah, I'm just looking at how we get the most money.
Yeah.
Because I think, like...
Sell it.
Like, if you... Like, the 2 teams playing in the Big 12 championship game moving forward are probably going to be in the top 16.
Pretty good chance. I mean, last year they were both there. Like,
last year they were both in the top 8 or whatever.
Well, I mean, but then a team loses.
Yeah,
how far do they fall back?
They were still the loser. Oklahoma State was still ahead of Oklahoma.
Yeah, but I'm just like, the team that loses is going to fall back some, but there's a pretty good chance they're still in the 16.
Yeah, because they're going to fall back some, but all those teams behind them aren't playing in their conference championship.
Right.
The vast majority of them aren't. So it's not like they're going to just jump teams that aren't playing and didn't even make their conference championship ahead of,
right,
a one loss. I mean, if you've got 2 losses and then you lose your conference championship, you're probably,
the 3 is going to be tough.
But still, I mean, I'll take my chances that 10-2 with a loss in the conference championship keeps you in that situation.
Right. For sure.
But it's funny that that's all of a sudden that they've had, they all these meetings have been scheduled. Apparently, they're not like these random pop-up things. They were in Utah or something in May, and apparently, this is the best it's been. Like we're in agreement on so many things, and it's like, oh yeah, no kidding.
Shocking how that works, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
When is Fickle allowing John Williams out of the doghouse? John Williams is not in the doghouse. James Tunstall won the job and has not only had a good end of the season last year, but also been very good this spring and summer. So I think there's John Williams is going to play a lot of football at UC. He's not in the doghouse. He's a aerospace engineer major. Like, what is he in the doghouse for? What has he done really to get in the doghouse, Dave?
You would know better than me.
More importantly, what's a doghouse called in aerospace? I don't know.
Doghouse?
A doghouse?
In space? I don't know. I don't know that a house for a dog would be a thing in space. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, but making a bad play and someone moving ahead of you on the depth chart is not being in the doghouse. Like, dog station? A dog station. He's not in the doghouse. He just got passed.
Dog Sputnik.
I love that you guys really embrace the stupidity sometimes. No, he didn't play after the Indiana game, but it wasn't because he was in the doghouse. It was because James Tunstall,
another guy was playing better,
won the job. PFF ranked off-ball linebackers. I hate this on-ball linebackers, off-ball linebackers. I think it's such a dumb distinction. Can we go to middle linebacker and outside linebackers again?
Sam, Will, and Mike.
Yeah.
They had good names. They were easy to identify. Quality kids from, GCL program.
I've made this adjustment to field and boundary for everything. Do we have to keep inventing new things for things to be called? That's all. Yeah,
because you got to sound smart.
Right.
You got to be the lingo.
Ivan Pace, number 5. Deshawn Pace, number 24. To that, I'll just say, come on.
I think 1 is too high.
I think 1 is in the place.
Is too low.
I think they should.
I'm not saying they should be switched. I think they should just be closer together.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I couldn't tell you another linebacker in the country without reading the article, so I can't tell you. I can't tell you whether it's right or wrong on its face. But that's a pretty, hey, if he plays like the 5th ranked linebacker in the country, UC's defense going to be in a pretty good spot.
Off ball.
Yes, off ball linebacker.
He's not. He doesn't play on the ball. Dude.
The thing that cracks me up about that, and I probably don't even know 100% to where I would probably say something and it would be wrong, so I'd make myself look like an idiot. Like, how many people? What's the percentage of people reading that actually know what an on-ball versus off-ball linebacker is?
Well, it's PFF, so it's supposed to be for the nerds, right?
Still,
well, I'm just saying, that's them talking, in their mind, that's them talking to their base.
Yeah, you can't just say here's the top 25 linebackers.
Well, outside linebackers.
Right. Well, no, because there's on-ball and off-ball. So you're even differentiating between those two positions.
No, because Ivan Pace plays weak side linebacker and Deshawn Pace plays strong side linebacker.
Well, then the article is...
The only thing that's not listed is middle linebackers. Right?
Okay. I thought there was an on-ball and an off-ball.
Right. Outside linebackers are off the ball. Middle linebacker is on the ball. That's, I think that's my understanding of it.
Exactly.
If I'm wrong, somebody let me know.
I'm making myself just my point that I just made.
Sam, Will, and Mike.
Sometimes they make it harder than it needs to be.
Yes. The field and boundary thing, at least that's easy to explain.
Right.
Yeah,
you just look at the big part of the field versus the skinny part of the field.
Right. That's the field over here with all this space out here.
All the field.
And then this over here is the boundary because it's close to the sideline. At least that's easy.
Yeah.
I was okay with that change in the lexicon because it wasn't too difficult. What are you guys doing tomorrow, Dave? What's the fam doing?
Rachel's dad's coming down to visit. So we're just hanging out.
You want to come meet up?
Probably not.
Okay.
Where are we meeting up?
The Florence Freedom.
Oh, no. I'm not bringing my hellion 3-year-old to that.
That's actually the perfect place to bring him. Have you ever been there?
No, I don't even like baseball.
Yeah, they have a huge park, and you can just drink beer and let him play down the left field line in this park.
You make it sound so simple. Yeah, just let him roam down there by himself with all the other.
Yeah, there's fences, and he'll make friends and just play for 3 hours.
No, very controlled environment for him.
All right. Well, if you're listening and you're not doing anything, it's Bearcats night at the Florence Freedom game. I'll be there. The basketball team will be there. A bunch of people from the coaching staff. I don't know if there's any football people that are going to be there. But it sounds like it'll be a pretty fun evening, very informal setting with the Florence Freedom. Pretty cool park and cheap beer. And I'll be there. I think Kelly and Kelsey are going to come after Kelsey gets done with volleyball practice. So if you're not doing anything, come check it out. It'll be fun. And tomorrow is the last day of summer activities for the basketball team. And then they get a couple weeks off before the start of school. And so the focus is going to pretty much entirely be on football outside of, some recruiting stuff. Do we get a decision from Isaiah Collier here in the next couple of weeks? He started his Michigan visit today. I need you guys to do me a favor, right? Please. Can we stop policing? I didn't see that on the board, but you talked about it on the podcast. I mentioned in a podcast, I mentioned on Monday some things about Isaiah Collier that I said 2 weeks ago on the board. Well, can you write everything on the board that you say on the podcast? Well, most of the stuff I say on the podcast has been on the board in some way, shape, or form. The only thing we've done a little bit different is me giving my player thoughts, specific game evaluations when I'm on the road, so that I don't have to stay up until 4 o'clock in the morning writing and then waking up at 8 o'clock in the morning and going back to the gym. I promise you're getting all of the information, 95% of the information on the board before you're getting it on the podcast.
Yes.
I promise. I don't know. You got anything else? You guys got anything else? Anything you want us to discuss here at the end of the show?
I want to know a little bit about who the new Bond villain that the basketball team offered today. What do you know about him?
He's been a manager, practice guy.
No, the guy from Arizona, junior college.
Oh, the guy they just offered.
Yes, he's got the Bond villain name.
Yeah, I don't know a ton about him yet. I know he's a guy that obviously with the recruitment of Davion Thomas, they have spent some time at JUCO events over the past couple weeks. And when you spend time at JUCO events, obviously you find some guys that you like. I was actually texting with a source about him. Yaxel Lendeborg.
I'm gonna go, Yaxel Lendeborg.
Yeah, Lendeborg. There's no second in Lendeborg. Interest from Oregon, Cincinnati X. Offers from Memphis, Houston. A guy that a JUCO guy, 12 points, 11 boards, 1.5 blocks a game. Doesn't look like much of a shooter, but as we've talked about, this is a team that's not going to have a ton of rim protection going forward. So if you can get a guy that can rebound and block some shots, potentially on a roster that's going to need 6, 7, 8 players next year, you look into it. So I think it's kind of, I don't know that he's a priority yet at this point, but he's a guy that they've evaluated a couple times, that they at least wanted to throw their hat in the ring on. So yeah, that's what I know about him so far. I'm getting nearer to starting the hot board. And this is a name that'll be on it when I get it started. Which Bond movie, Dave?
Oh,
Octopussy?
I'm a big Bond fan.
Yeah.
I think he would be more of one of the newer seems like a newer Bond villain.
Yaxel, Lendeborg.
Yeah, like a Spectre or even a No Time to Die. Maybe Die Another Day. We'll go with one of the newer versions. Very, very interested to see who the next Bond is.
It's like there's going to be a new Bond?
Finally? Yeah, Daniel Craig, I don't think I'm spoiling it for anybody, died in the last Bond. If you have not seen No Time to Die, it's only been out for like over a year. So,
favorite Bond is easy, right?
What's that?
Favorite Bond is easy, right?
Daniel Craig.
Really?
Oh, he was awesome. Yeah.
You're not a Sean Connery guy?
No, I am. But he would be either second or third. I thought Pierce Brosnan was really good too.
Pierce Brosnan was really good. I didn't see any of the Daniel Craig ones. I don't really watch movies anymore.
Bond is pretty much the only, I'm pretty sure I have seen 2 movies, maybe 3, and I'm just forgetting, but the last 2 movies I can remember actually seeing in the theater was Spectre and No Time to Die. Okay. So I only in the last however many years
I've heard I need to go see this Top Gun in the theater before.
I do. I agree. I've heard that all my friends say it's yes, Daniel Craig had a very interesting character arc from the beginning to the end of his run as Bond. So he's the only Bond that actually got the shit beat out of him. Whereas before it'd be Bond is taking on 19 guys at one time and
doesn't one punch and
doesn't have any scratches or anything like that.
So what do you think on this take? Pierce was a good Bond in the worst movies.
They weren't great, although I'm a little partial to those movies just because that's when the Bond video game came out and you got to play proximity mines in the in whatever
still top 3 video game of all time, GoldenEye.
It's pretty awesome.
I played thousands of hours of GoldenEye.
Yeah, GoldenEye is a great game.
Thousands of hours of GoldenEye.
But yeah, I liked Die Another Day. I thought was okay with Pierce. I'm trying to think. But yeah, they were just very, I don't know,
cookie cutter.
Yeah, kind of. But they kind of fit into what Lambig talked about was these other posh Bonds. He just nothing bad ever happened to the guy except the one scene where he was getting his family jewels really, which that was that was Daniel Craig too. See, he just got the crap beat out of him in almost every movie, which made him, I think, a more realistic, likable character. But yeah, GoldenEye was good.
GoldenEye was his only decent movie, Jason said.
One of my favorite Bond's movies is, I'm trying to blank on the name. Has Connery. Isn't even technically a Bond movie, but they had this. I don't think it's technically a Bond movie. They had this wild video game where you're across from another player. This rich guy had this video game where you're shooting and it electrocutes your hands as you take over countries. But I'm not doing a great job of explaining that. But I can't remember for the life of me the name of that one. But yes, Never Say Never Again. See, Jason's must be a big Bonder like me. Where did Chad just left us, Aaron?
I never know what he's doing over there. Never know what he's doing over there.
It's like Mom in the Meatloaf. I don't even know what she's doing back there.
That was the reference.
Yeah. just gets up and leaves his own show.
Don't mind me, just trying to do extra timestamps here.
I'll ask Jason, who do you want to be the next Bond?
I think he's back.
So I'm back. So sorry. The dogs. I have a door, like one of the doors. If there's anybody else opens a door in the house, it pushes open one of the doors to my office. And the window of my office is right at the dog's like eye level. And they love to come into my office, lift up the shades and bark at whatever's outside the window. So I looked down and the dogs had kind of pushed the door open and they were coming in to bark at the window. So I had to corral the dogs so that they didn't take over the broadcast.
Yeah. Well, that's good because we were in some very important, deep James Bond talk.
Yeah. I mean, you guys are deep on the Bond.
Just nerding out hard. Right. Tom Hardy's a good one. I'm partial to Charlie, and I don't even know how you say his last name. Hunnam. He was like Jax Teller from Sons of Anarchy. I would like to see him be the next Bond.
How about
Idris Elba had a lot of heat behind his name like a year or two ago, but I don't know where that's gone.
Can we get The Rock as Bond?
I don't think The Rock quite fits the character profile.
I think he could, just have to stop lifting for a little while.
It's like, yes, I'm this international man of mystery that's 6'5", 265 pounds. Everybody instantly notices me as soon as I step into a room.
What do you think? Need to go young? Find a new, untapped young? I mean, they've done that many times before, right?
Jason Statham.
All right, yeah. I think we're about out of.
Are we gonna watch Pac-12 Media Day tomorrow to see what George has to say?
I'll follow along. I don't know that I'm gonna watch.
The defenders finally don't have anything else to write.
I mean,
I had a little fun.
They're coming heavy tomorrow. Dude.
I had a little fun with Buddy the other night.
Milner
on the Twitter.
Whatever, yeah. Here's what I don't get. Like that guy got a ton of like juice by breaking USC and UCLA
network. Probably. So no one will be able to watch.
Yeah. He got a ton of juice by breaking the news that those two schools were leaving for the Big Ten. And then he's just like pissed it all away by going gullet deep on the Pac-12 for the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks, month, whatever it's been.
The Pac-12 Survival Guide 7.0.
Yeah, I mean, holy shit.
I guess
man.
like my thing is like it's so much spilled ink for no reason because so say these numbers that we're hearing from ESPN and their offer of like whatever $24.5 million is somewhat true. Like one, it's an exclusive negotiating window. ESPN is not negotiating against anybody. Why would they give them more money than that?
Right.
So, two, of course, again, why would the Pac-12 sign up for that? Of course, they would take it to market. But if the other networks are hearing that that's in the range of what they're offering, like, I can't imagine somebody else is like, oh my God, we got to get them so bad that we're going to give them like $15 million more than the ESPN was willing to give them.
Right.
So whether that number is truly accurate or not, like ESPN was obviously going to lowball them because they're not negotiating against anybody else. But that number is going to get out there. And like, I'm I think from a Big 12 standpoint, we want Fox to gobble up as much Big Ten content as they can. They're already at like 61% ownership of the Big Ten network. They're obviously going,
all in.
All in. They're going to have, Big Noon Kickoff is a huge thing now. Grabbing UCLA and USC, them going even more in on the Big Ten, whether we like it or not, puts pressure on ESPN, NBC, CBS, whoever that might be, to possibly pay more or get more.
Well, if ESPN lost the Big Ten,
there's talk that they might lose they might not have any Big Ten,
and that's if you watch ESPN, especially early windows, the noon and 3:30 windows.
Oh my God! All it is Purdue versus Minnesota.
Right, that's a giant chunk of their content.
Well, how many ABC games have been whiteout at Penn State?
Right.
Night game at Ohio State. Night game at Wisconsin. We've talked about NBC coming on as a shoulder programming with the Big 12. I wouldn't be surprised if NBC came on as shoulder programming for the Big 10.
And guess who else has NBC?
Yeah.
Saying. I'm not saying.
I mean, the Big 10 could have Big Noon Kickoff.
Everybody welcome in conference realignment expert, Dave Simone.
Oh, glad to be back.
I forgot.
Appreciate you guys bringing me on again. I love coming on your show.
It's almost like it's your show too these days.
Yeah,
we should get you your own show, Sundays. Monday mornings.
That might be a decent idea. I don't know. We have no idea what we're going to call it yet, but
conference realignment expert Dave Simone. Conference realignment brought to you by expert Dave Simone.
Yes, it'd be like those, the gardening show you hear on the radio and on the weekend, or the money market, investment shows.
Yeah, paid programming.
But yeah, it's gonna the Big Ten is supposedly gonna have an announcement-ish thing in the next couple weeks. It sounds like they're just kind of closing that out. So it's going to be interesting. If ESPN totally loses out on the Big Ten, there's no content. What does that do with the Pac-12? Does ESPN still want it even without USC and UCLA, and for what value? And if I'm one of these
we think we know Fox has washed their hands of the Big Ten.
Yeah, but if I'm CBS, am I going from the SEC game of the week to the Pac-12?
Ooh.
They're going to be my big property.
Yeah.
Without UCLA and USC.
Right.
I don't know. Seems like an odd business strategy, but I mean
that it does.
It doesn't sound like the guy's going to be breaking any news tomorrow, but I think it'll just be interesting to see what's the tone. Is he going to pull Kevin Warren practically spiked the ball and did a touchdown dance on the Pac-12 the other day when he talks about if teams are leaving your conference, you have bigger issues.
Not wrong.
No, but I'm just saying he didn't exactly apparently him and George haven't spoken since he shanked him and took his two best teams.
Well, yeah, because he shanked him.
Yeah.
What are they going to talk about?
Of the four talked about schools, would you, the Colorado, Utah, and the Arizonas, would you prefer all four, just two, or none? besides trying to destroy the Pac-12, are you interested in the? So are you interested in the market's competition, or do you not want to thin the pot? So
I think they're all about the same.
I'll start with the one part. I don't care about markets. Can you play football? Now, I'm not the one doing the deals. I'm not the one telling you that, like, this is the whole argument that I've had with these Pac-12 folks is like, yeah, but the Bay Area. Well, great, you got the Bay Area. How many people are watching Stanford and Cal games?
Like, is E40 calling your games?
Is it, and we've done this rant before, but, like, is it markets or is it brands? You can't say it's brands for Oregon and Washington, but markets for Arizona State, and the Bay Area.
Right.
I mean, if I'm just looking from a football standpoint, like, I'll take Utah and Arizona. Arizona's not great, but, like,
they're usually pretty solid.
Arizona State's a dumpster fire right now. Who knows what that's going to be in the coming years?
You think?
So, I'll take them all but at the same time, like, I'll take them all because they fit, and it does. It just destroys the conference. So
there's no bouncing back if they lose 4.
No, there's really no bouncing back if they lose 1.
I know, but 4 is you're dead.
Because, like, if they lose 1, and that's the other thing that just cracks me up is, like, the Wilner guy keeps making this point of, like, Big 12 fans taking pride in that nobody wants your teams, and I'm like,
nobody wants your teams either.
I'm like, but like, and that's why I responded with, like, the goal is not dying.
Right.
Like, yes, maybe there are teams in the Pac-12 that are more valuable or more, I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, like, more coveted, but all the other Pac-12 teams know that. So why would they sign up for something
right
where they know at any point, like, yeah, great, we're all, like, we're better than you, but at a moment's notice, this one guy in our friend group can just be like, piss off, I'm going to go join this other
You're
friend
out,
group.
right? Yeah.
So is that really that much better? Like, I don't know. I mean, but I'm just looking at it again, back to what we were talking about with the playoff. It's a money thing. Like, if the Pac-12 is gone, some network has a whole lot of content that they need filled.
Faux show.
I mean, how many times will George talk academics? I hope none, because he would be being disingenuous. Like, I kind of liked how, Kevin Warren didn't, like, beat around the bush and was like, yeah, if we add programs, it'll be because of money.
Like, I didn't come here to play school.
No,
Kevin Warren's what was that?
Cardell Jones.
Cardell Jones, yeah. I didn't come here to play school.
So I don't really think this still is, a lot of this is still in, like, Notre Dame's court.
Sure.
And I'm not convinced that even if they make a decision, like, if I'm the Big Ten and Notre Dame says in 2 months, in 2 years, whatever, yeah, I'm going to come join. Why do you have to bring anybody else with them?
Uneven numbers makes for weird scheduling, I think, is the biggest concern there, right? Like, you need it. You don't have to have it even, but it just makes life a little easier if it's even.
It makes it easier, but I guess my point is, like, if you've got Notre Dame and Ohio State and USC and Michigan and Penn State,
Wisconsin, Iowa.
I'll throw UCLA in there from a basketball standpoint to go with your Indiana and Michigan State, and do you really need another school to just make scheduling easier when the likelihood is that then strips down the money that each school gets?
Right.
Because if that other school was that damn valuable, they'd be in the Big Ten.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of the thing, right? Like, if the Big Ten wanted to end the Pac-12, it would have already been dead.
Yeah, like you're obviously waiting for Notre Dame.
Yes, like if they wanted to go USC, UCLA, Stanford, Cal,
they would have.
They could have done that.
But they'd rather wait and see what happens to get Notre Dame than to get two other teams and then maybe not.
Or Stanford is the play, and you only do that when you get Notre Dame, or if you get Notre Dame.
Yeah, because
Freeman talked today about like how important independence is to Notre Dame. Blah 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 blah. Like, I get it.
Yeah,
whatever.
Yeah, I'm still not convinced that they do anything, and certainly not like in the near future. I could be dead wrong. I just don't know. I don't see what's changed. Like, what's changed to force them? The playoff hasn't changed. They were right on the doorstep of making the playoff last year with a loss. They're recruiting at an incredibly high level. They're playing games in Las Vegas, other major metropolitan areas that they would not be playing games in if they joined a conference. So I still don't know what has happened that is making them go, other than if they, and that's the other thing, like, yeah, the Big Ten gets $1 billion a year TV deal. But like, if Notre Dame comes somewhat close to that, in their share, like, why do they need to go join up and play a bunch of games against Minnesota and Purdue? They already played Purdue kind of, but like Minnesota, Purdue, Indiana, Nebraska, Rutgers, Maryland, like, how is that good for Notre Dame and what they find to be important?
Yeah, but if all you can get 75 and you go to the Big Ten and that pushes it to 110.
They're only getting like 15 now.
I know. You think they don't want 115 over 75?
Well, yeah, but 75 would be a lot closer than.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, if they took a $50 million jump in their yearly annual payout in their next TV deal, I think that allows them to kind of continue to do what they're doing.
No, that's fair. I got a new segment for you, Dave.
What's that?
Favorite story of the week.
Okay.
I have a favorite story of the week.
Okay.
Did you see today that the best name in college football signed a new NIL deal?
Boogie Nights?
No.
Or Boogie Night?
Decoldest Crawford.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Is the new spokesperson for a heating and cooling company in Lincoln, Nebraska.
I like it. I do not think he has the best name in college football, though.
Okay. I mean, it's in terms of NIL. It's pretty good.
Boogie Night.
Yeah, Boogie Night is pretty good.
I mean, I could think of a couple websites that might be willing to pay him some money.
I don't think you're allowed to use those websites for NIL. I mean, after college, he might have something going on. But I mean, this is what NIL, like, at its peak, this is what NIL is supposed to be, right?
Aaron, I'm not a specialist. I'm an expert.
Expert. Realignment expert. David Simone. It's hard to find good help these days.
I mean, how are people supposed to trust what I'm saying if I'm only a specialist? I mean, there's lots of specialists. There's only so many experts.
Right. Specialists are a dime a dozen. You got to get your degree, I guess, in realignment, which I'm pretty sure you have.
I have multiple degrees in realignment.
Yeah. There we go. Realignment expert. He unstarred the other one, too. Good work, Aaron. Good work. But, yes. My favorite story of the week is Decoldest Crawford becoming the new spokesperson for SOS Heating and Cooling.
I like it.
That's outstanding.
I'm telling you, man, Nebraska's not great on the field, but they might be the kings of the NIL because their fans they care so much about the program. Like
that they do. That they do. All right. I think we're done here. We made it to 2. I don't know how the hell we made it to 2 hours. I thought we were done a half hour ago.
We talked about some bond.
Yeah. And then we let you get into, some realignment talk ahead of.
I did some experting.
Yeah. Yeah. General Booty. General Booty's a great name.
General Booty's a good name. Arkansas actually has
Bumper Pool. Was that his name?
Bumper Pool. I think so.
I mean, that's an easy NIL, right? Like,
I think he's still there.
Especially in a place like by Fayetteville, they've got that lake that has all the lake houses. How are you not selling bumper pool sets to all those places where people go to stay?
That's his real name too.
Yeah, that's his real name.
Bumper James Morris Pool.
Yep. Get the NIL deals done.
That's right.
Aaron is just losing his mind on these timestamps today. Imagine if you sponsored the timestamp.
Oh my God!
We would have mentioned you.
You would have had
17 times today.
You have more ad reads than the title sponsor. Do you do an ad read for every timestamp? So do they pay by the timestamp?
Nope, they just pay by the episode.
See, you're going to get yourself in some trouble with our title sponsors then.
Luckily, we do a lot for the Grail in our title sponsorship.
Well, I'm working on some sponsorships for the new show.
I know you are.
We need to talk about we need to have a meeting about the financials of this new show and the sponsorships that I'm working on.
Hey, you sell sponsorships, you get a large majority of the sponsorships. I just need to pay the taxes on it.
Do I get a large majority of the new show content?
I mean, it's your show.
I can't pay myself.
Dave's morning after show.
Sponsored by the morning after pill.
Sponsored by Trojan. Oh,
well,
man.
I just got
That's
a text.
Great place to end it.
You're still on the pod? Yeah.
Yeah, you need to go.
I think I do.
All right. Well, great show today, Dave, as always. Appreciate your conference realignment expertise. True Romance. Oh no, trust me. I used to work a True Romance gig every year at their warehouse when they would do the warehouse sale, and I would just get to walk out with a whole basket full of goodies.
Apparatuses.
That's the end. We'll see you next time. It's the BCJ podcast, brought to you by the Holy Grail, right here on BearcatJournal.com.